Mallory, do you have the capability to play the Monster Mash at 6:30?
Uh, I don't know how to share audio. Is it pretty easy?
I think I can probably do it. Just as a welcoming tune for people.
I've never actually done that.
Okay, let's see. Uh,
Is anyone dressing up for Halloween? My team said we're dressing up as farmers, and I'm like, that's not dressing up. You guys are farmers. I'll dress up as a farmer.
Me and my friends were gonna be a barbershop quartet, but I don't know
Uh,
if it's gonna come through or not. We'll have to.
that's fun.
Yep.
We were out to dinner, Chelsea and I, we were brainstorming. She's like, what about 90s toys that were creepy? Furby, Tamagotchi. And then I remembered, for those of you who remember, Big Mouth Billy Bass. Wouldn't that be a good costume? You can steal it if you're looking for one.
Okay, well, I'll start the music in just a minute. Do we have like a welcome screen or anything, Mallory, or no? Okay, that's all right. Also, just to introduce everyone to Mallory. Mallory is the Iowa Food Systems Coalition communications staff. So she's here tonight as kind of tech support and background crew. So thank you, Mallory.
Thank you, Mallory, and thank you for your posts. I realized about an hour ago I had forgotten to register, so I went to our Facebook and found it very easily.
And
Also,
we
can I
usually
tell?
have like 20 people RSVP right before. So we're at, last I looked, for about 70 people RSVP'd,
Oh,
yes. So should be
that's
a good night.
fantastic. Great turnout for a
Mm,
Tuesday night.
right?
Um, Tommy, you can start playing the music over me, but I really want to tell a cute story.
Oh, please, please. That's even better than welcome music. Giselle, go ahead.
Okay, so we were in the Riceville schools last Friday, and Nancy Eastman is the school district director, and she hosted this incredible festival. And it was the first half was a job fair, and there was like farms and food hubs and local businesses, and so the kids could walk around and learn, um, what kind of jobs are possible in the future and what kind of jobs are in the food system. And then there was a farmers market, and they earned tickets for good behavior and good grades. So like creating this culture in the school. And then they got to actually buy stuff with the tickets. And there was like Amish pies and cakes and cookies. The food hub brought like 50 different varieties of produce. There was pumpkins you could take home. There was caramel apples, lots of tasty stuff. And this one kid comes up and he's like, "Man, 22 onions is really heavy. I spent all my tickets on onions." And we're like, "Why did you get 22 onions?" And he's like, "Well, my dad really loves onions, so I thought I'd get him some." And I was so moved. And I had to tell everyone this story. It was just the sweetest thing I've ever heard. So it's a little uplifting. The kids are all right.
I bet his dad was very happy with the onion haul when he
If
came
his
home.
dad didn't cry when he came home with 22 onions.
It would be hard not to cry with that many onions, as we know. Onions cause some tears.
Touche.
All right. Well, I see lots of folks are joining. We will have some time for joining the conversation later. We're gonna get started here in a minute. But if folks want to go ahead and put their names and where they're calling in from in the chat, that would be lovely, so we can kind of see where people are coming from. And then we'll get started in just a second. I think Giselle's gonna kick us off.
Yeah, you tell me when, Tommy.
I should get video and audio off.
Yeah, for anyone who's not a scheduled speaker, if you can go ahead and make sure your video and audio are off. We will invite comments later on, but for starting, we'll start with our 7 scheduled speakers. Yeah, Iowa City, Marion County, Hardin County, Des Moines, Rhodes, Sutherland, Fort Dodge. We are well represented around the state. This is great to see. Waterloo, uh, Iowa City, 2nd Congressional District, Fayette County, Dyersville, Charles City. It's pretty cool that we can all gather from around the state tonight. Thank you all. Keep putting your where you're calling in from in the chat. That's great. Great Iowa, Sioux City. Very good. Okay. Yeah, please feel free to keep putting your name and city in the chat. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Giselle, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. Well, good evening. Happy Tuesday night. It's good to see so many people on the call. My name's Giselle Bruskowitz, and I am the vice chair of the Iowa Food System Coalition. And it's great to see lots of new faces, lots of familiar faces. For those of you just joining us, the Iowa Food System Coalition is a statewide coalition working to strengthen Iowa's local food system, connecting farmers and food businesses, nonprofits, and many more partners aligned with our mission. And our mission is simple. The Iowa Food System Coalition is a coalition of more than 40 organizations and individuals committed to collective action to advance a thriving and equitable food system here in Iowa. So as many of you know, and many of you have gotten emails from us, our executive director, Chris Schwartz, was arrested a few weeks ago. The steering committee acted quickly to respond to these allegations and placed him on administrative leave while we review our next steps. Our chair, Chelsea Christ, and I are committed to transparency and to continuing this coalition's important work, including the work that we're doing here tonight. And we have a plan that we're continuing to work towards with 9 priority areas and impact that we can measure. So I'll be sure to link that in the chat. If you'd like to get more involved, if you're new here on this call, I would encourage you and invite you to join a priority team. You can plan to attend our local food policy summit on December 5th in Ames. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to us at leadership@iowafoodSystemCoalition.org. And I'll put that in the chat as well. But most importantly, tonight is about listening and learning from the incredible farmers and food businesses and local food leaders shaping Iowa's future. So thank you for being here, and I will turn it over to Tommy Hexter, who will guide us through tonight's conversation.
Perfect. Thank you, Giselle. I appreciate that. I want to first say thank you to everyone for joining this call on the chilliest night of the fall so far. We hope you've got a good warm drink and you're ready to join in on some conversation here. I want to especially thank the 7 guest speakers who have taken time to prepare for this and are going to be sharing their message first with us tonight. And I'll introduce myself. My name is Tommy Hexter. I am the director of Grinnell Farm to Table Food Hub in Grinnell, Iowa, and I'm also the policy director for the Iowa Farmers Union. And so both of my jobs, I get to work with small farmers in Iowa, advocating for fairer markets and increasing our local food production across the state. And I'm really grateful to be able to be the moderator for tonight's conversation. So the format of this call, we are going to go one at a time through our list of 7 prepared speakers so that they can tell you a little bit about their food and farm businesses around the state. And during this time, anyone else who's not one of those 7 speakers can feel free to add comments or questions in the chat. And I will make sure those get relayed to the speaker at the appropriate time. And then at the end of this first round of questions, we're going to open it up for conversation with everybody in the call tonight. including elected officials and members of the general public, so that everyone's input can be heard about farm and food business development in the state. So if that sounds all right to everybody, we'll go ahead and get started. Um, but just to frame the conversation a little bit. So at a time when uncertainty kind of abounds in our country and in our world, local foods are something that we can control. We can control the production of good, high quality food in the state of Iowa. And so this event is meant to demonstrate how investing in farm and food businesses helps create jobs, keeps dollars in our Iowa communities, and strengthens our food security as a state. So all of our speakers will share real world stories about their farms and food businesses, and how they've grown those businesses and where gaps may still exist, that the public and policy can help shape. So the goal of the event is to give legislators and members of the general public ideas about how to continue investing in Iowa's food systems. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over first to Mari Hunt-Wassink with Black Earth Gardens in Cedar Rapids. And Mari, if you just want to share a little bit about your farm and how you got started.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mari Hunt-Wassink, and I'm a young first-generation farmer and small business owner from Lynn County. I started farming because I want to grow food for Iowa families and also help everyone in my community to access healthy and delicious food. So I started my own farm in 2023 after securing farmland through a nonprofit farm incubator program for beginning and landless farmers. And my farm, Black Earth Gardens, is a small scale farm that grows over 30 different varieties of vegetables, herbs, and fruits that we sell to schools, food pantries, and directly to Iowa families through a CSA program and also a mobile farm stand.
Thanks, Mari. So obviously starting up your own farm is not an easy endeavor. And especially, Iowa over the past 100 years has gone from over 200,000 farms to under 90,000 farms in 2025. And so if we're really going to regenerate our state, we need to get serious about giving new farmers like yourself the opportunity to start. And so could you tell us a little bit about the kinds of support that public policy or other initiatives have given you to get access to land and capital?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so the number one barrier that faces beginning farmers today is land access. The bottom line is that first generation farmers are really starting from scratch. We don't have access to the same resources that other farmers rely on. So we need a little bit of extra support to build successful and long-lasting businesses. In my case, there's no farmland or farm equipment in my family for me to inherit or use. So I can't borrow dad's tractor or use my aunt's back 40 to help me get started. I dreamed of becoming a farmer for years, but I couldn't actually start my own operation until I got accepted into a farm incubator program that leased me farmland. And even then, I didn't have even the most basic startup equipment to get my business off the ground. That first year, I received a grant from Lynn County that I was able to combine with my own personal savings in order to purchase a pickup truck, a hoop house, and some hand tools. And that plot of farmland plus the initial influx of cash from the grant are the reasons that I'm able to say today that I'm a farmer and small business owner who's feeding my fellow Iowans. But my story isn't over. After 3 successful years in business, my farm's graduating from that farm incubator program that hosts me on their land. And in order to continue farming next year, I will need to secure suitable and affordable farmland elsewhere. I've been searching for my next farm home for about 18 months now. And in those months, I visited over 20 different farms and spoken to about as many landowners. And in that time and through those conversations, I've realized that while many retiring farmers and their heirs really want to sell or rent to beginning farmers, it's often financially unwise for them to do so because developers and out-of-state investors can afford to pay them much higher prices for their land than beginning farmers can. And so at the end of the day, beginning farmers and first generation farmers like me are simply not competitive candidates for land succession, even though we're the ones most passionate about and equipped to steward Iowa's agricultural lands going forward. So obviously, it's been a stressful season for me as I contemplate the possibility of having to stop farming. And I and many other beginning farmers already have the skills, the experience, and the determination to become the next generation of Iowa farmers. So we just need our lawmakers' partnership and support to make that happen. So given all of that, the best way that lawmakers can support first generation farmers like me, I see as being threefold. The first one is to fund farm incubator programs for beginning farmers, like the one that's hosting me right now, to invest in grant programs that help beginning farmers with startup costs, and finally, to incentivize retiring farmers and their heirs to sell and rent to beginning farmers to make them more competitive, a more competitive choice. And the other thing I'll say is that one other type of support I found really invaluable as a first generation farmer is local food procurement programs. So I participated in the local food purchasing assistance program and local food for schools programs, which allowed schools, churches, food pantries, and food banks to use federal dollars to purchase food from local farmers. And during the years that those programs operated, my farm's revenue increased by about 20 to 25% just from LFPA and LFS sales. And I was able to reinvest that income back into my business to purchase my first tractor, which in turn has increased my farm's capacity to feed Iowa families. And that tractor's also made my business a better candidate for farmland and equipment loans as I seek to secure permanent land access and scale up in the future. So it's really been this like beautiful domino effect. And in addition to the direct benefits to my business, I also saw firsthand how local food procurement programs like these benefit the local economy in general. It really reduced my community's reliance on food imports while also keeping those dollars circulating within our local and rural community. So another impactful way that policymakers can support first generation farmers like me is to fund local food procurement programs at both the state and federal levels that prioritize beginning farmers and provide that bridge to success and resilience for farm business startups. And in my mind, that's just common sense. An investment in the next generation of Iowa farmers is ultimately an investment in our state's food security for decades to come, which is a pretty good investment.
Thank you, Mari. That was amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And the work that you and so many other beginning farmers do is the exact kind of work we need to start repopulating our rural areas and bringing some economy back to farms in Iowa. So thank you for sharing that and for laying it all out clearly like that. Hexter, another farmer in Solon, Iowa. Are you on the call? Yes, see. Sharing from Iowa. Can you tell us a little bit about your farm?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Sometimes my rural internet is a little difficult if my video is on. So Tommy, will you let me know if it starts to not? Okay, great. Hello everyone. My name is Carmen Black, and I co-own a vegetable and livestock farm with my sister Maya in Solon, Iowa. And I bought my farm and the community supported agriculture business that I still run today from a retiring farmer, Susan Utes, 10 years ago. And we had a very successful non-family farm transition. So Susan had been my 4-H leader, and I grew up with her kids. Um, and so we were able to successfully transition the farm and CSA business to me, the new owner. But it was very difficult because there was very little support for that kind of non-family farm transition, and also not very many examples of folks who had done similar transitions. So since I started farming 10 years ago, my sister has come on as a co-owner, and we have grown the business to support both of us full time, and enabled us to quit our off-farm jobs. And we've done this by both growing our community supported agriculture business, both in terms of like number of members as well as season extension. So you can, grow and sell more food if you're extending that season, as well as adding new enterprises. So we restarted direct to consumer lamb and goat sales that Susan had sort of phased out as she neared retirement, as well as adding new enterprises like meat chickens, laying hens, and we built a licensed processing plant so that we can produce and sell value-added frozen and dehydrated products to further extend that season. So, besides offering ourselves full-time employment, this has also allowed us to have part-time employees year-round, which really sort of increases the sustainability of your business to have that employee retention. And as well as these uh, I guess those enterprises. Another really important thing to my farm is the community focus. And this was something that had been started by Susan and was very important to her as well. So we have partnerships with 5 local food relief organizations that allow us to provide 15% of our CSA shares to free of cost to low-income families in our community. And along with Mari, the previous speaker, we also do mobile markets at senior living communities to offer vegetables, better access to vegetables in that way. And we have also started a youth employment program in partnership with a local nonprofit to also start training young people in and educating folks in farming.
Thank you, Carmen. That's quite a story of 10 years of building a farm business and going from part-time to full-time and adding part-time staff and getting involved in food access work and job training. And that's the kind of work that it takes to build an Iowa food farm. So 10 years in, you guys are going strong. What kinds of programs and what kind of support can the state help give to diversified farms like yours moving forward? And what kinds of gaps are you experiencing right now at the end of the 2025 growing season?
Yeah, so we have been fortunate to participate in a lot of both state and federal farm programs. Um, it's a whole alphabet soup of acronyms, and so I cannot say them all, but I will say that we have participated in both, or we've received both grants from the Resilient Food Systems and Infrastructure Program, which is a federal program, and the Choose Iowa program, which is a state program that have allowed us to build the processing plant that I mentioned and related in growing that infrastructure on our farm. And so that has been very helpful in terms of our own ability to extend the season and add enterprises, but also hopefully something that we're able to rent out and support other farmers in trying out that kind of infrastructure as well. So I think that are those types of programs are very helpful to farmers, and a lot of times those programs are not sort specifically intended for farms, and so we often in a grant program like that can often end up competing with nonprofits or larger businesses that have more dedicated staff. And so I think more programs directly intended for local food farms to build that infrastructure and also just like Mari kind of mentioned, sort of expand our production practices, I think is a gap. I also wanted to mention that a challenge with a lot of local food production is refrigeration. And that obviously, in the case of increasingly erratic weather, can leave us without power for 7 days, like after the derecho. And so, I think continuing on expanding funding for programs like REAP that allow farmers to build uh, energy production and storage on their farms could be extremely helpful for those of us who rely on refrigeration in times of erratic weather. I also think a gap. It's interesting as a livestock farmer, as well as a vegetable farmer, there are more programs for disaster relief there for livestock farmers than for vegetable farmers. So I think that that is a gap in that, like when we've had a really dry year, the farm payments from FSA for like forage disaster relief have been really helpful and sort of also because there's nothing like that for vegetables. And I think that the direct to consumer model means that, especially the CSA model, means we have some insurance, like from the support of our community and our members in situations like that, but there's not additional support like there is for other types of crops.
Yeah, that's super important, Carmen. Thanks for hollering all of those things out. And we will be putting out a list of all of the different good ideas that vegetable farmers and other food businesses put out tonight, so that we have kind of a consolidated list for everyone to look at after this call. Um, Wow. Carmen and Maya or Mari, before we move on, could I just ask a little bit about how you all are doing finding markets in this year and previous years? Like what have been your primary go-to markets? Farmers markets, wholesale, food hubs, that sort of thing.
I can go first, Mari, and then you can go second. I sell primarily for vegetables in uh, through the community supported agriculture program. And in my personal experience, there is more demand for that than there are farms right now. And so we've been able to sell almost primarily direct to consumer, which you're getting more of the sort of share of the money and higher retail prices than you are by selling wholesale. So um, we have, yes, that has been um, our experience. And then the last couple of years, as I mentioned earlier, Mari and my farm have started doing mobile markets, and that has been like a new direct to consumer market as well. So, Mari, you can jump in.
Yeah, thanks, Carmen. Yeah, so I also do a CSA program, like a subscription produce box, that families can subscribe to at the beginning of the year. And I do it in collaboration with my friend who has a farm down in Iowa City. So it's kind of like a two-farm CSA, and that's worked out very well and is like a nice way to build community with other people who are invested in the food system and local foods in our area. And then I also, yeah, kind of co-organize with Carmen a mobile market that, so we actually have worked in partnership with the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship to um, try to increase usage of the farmers market nutrition program that they administer. And by kind of, because a lot of those vouchers that they receive can only be spent on local produce at farmers markets, not at grocery stores. And so a lot of seniors have trouble getting to a farmer's market because maybe they don't drive anymore or they have mobility concerns that prevent them from like physically navigating that market. And so we've brought the market straight to their doorstep. So we literally like set up in their parking lots and then the seniors can come out and shop. And it allows us, it's a really a win-win because it allows us to make sales, which is good for our businesses as young farmers. And then it also is, bringing more local produce into the diets of senior citizens in our community. So that's been a really meaningful way of getting to market my produce this year. And that uh, is a program that's been really useful in terms of like addressing food insecurity for seniors, that farmers market nutrition program, and has been an additional source of revenue for us. And with the expiration of the farm bill, or earlier this month, those programs are kind of in question. And so I'm really hoping that those programs will be able to continue because that's been an important part of my business model in terms of making a profit, but also serving my community and helping everyone in the community have access to produce.
That's excellent. It's amazing to see you guys have teamed up to partner on those mobile markets to make local food more accessible to folks, and also great to partner with the State Department of Ag. Thanks for sharing that. We know markets are like one of the most important parts for any farm business. So I just wanted to ask and clarify kind of how you guys have built your markets. Thank you for sharing. And another kind of market is our next speaker, Michelle Kenyon. Michelle is with Field to Family Food Hub in Iowa City. And before I let you speak, Michelle, I just want to, Carmen was just talking about the food dollar. And on average, the farmer receives 14 cents of the American food dollar, and the remaining 86 cents goes to food distributors, processors, transporters, all that sort of stuff. And so farmers are really losing out. They're on the short end of the stick there for the American food dollar. But food hubs offer a different model where they're able to give a much higher percentage to the farmers. It's not 100% like direct to consumer, but it is a great marketing service to farmers. Michelle, could you tell us a little bit about Field to Family Food Hub?
Sure, thanks, Tommy. I am also going to put a link in the chat that works to let people know a little bit more about our organization, so I don't need to spend a lot of time on it. But ultimately, Field to Family is I'm Michelle Kenyon. Hello, I'm Executive Director of Field to Family, and we're an Iowa City-based nonprofit that's focused on growing a more diverse, abundant, and healthy regional food system. And as Tommy said, we do that by operating a food hub, as well as an online farmers market in partnership with local producers. There's an official definition of food hubs, and we meet most of that criteria. Our team manages the purchase, aggregation, storage, marketing, and delivery of local food within our operations. And we offer all sorts of types of local foods. We work with many different types of farmers and food businesses. We really strive to get diverse offerings available throughout our region. So we're talking dairy, eggs, meat, grains, foods prepared with local ingredients, as well as seasonal fruits and vegetables. And yeah, from the beginning, Field to Family as an organization works in a collaborative approach. Back in 2017, farmers, environmentalists, government agencies, and economic development representatives that were both regional and state planned together to launch our food hub. The region itself had done some research and identified a need and a gap in our availability of wholesale local foods, and meeting that demand as well as increasing that demand. And so we started as part of that partnership. And then when we launched in 2019, we had just barely gotten started when the pandemic hit, and we took that, had a big transition time then. We started off as solely wholesale, but we worked with the city of Iowa City to launch an online farmers market as a pandemic response that year. And so those first few years of our hub, we were more direct to consumer, but our goal was always to focus on wholesale. And that's where we're at now, focused more on wholesale markets and meeting institutions where they are, what their menu is and what they're looking for and what will meet their needs when it comes to locally sourced foods. And of course, we're hitting the 7 o'clock hour, so you're going to hear maybe the chimes of my clock. I'm not sure how good this mic is, but I apologize for that.
No, we can hear him just a little bit, and it sounds beautiful, Michelle. Thank you. So I also, before we move on, want to ask a little bit about the hub to hub network. We know that Field to Family is one of several food hubs in Iowa. Can you just share about how working with other food hubs expands the product availability that you're able to carry and the reach of your food hub to serve more farmers and customers?
Yes, but I'll tell you, Tommy, you prepared me well, and part of my answer to your main question for me will cover that. I promise.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Okay.
so all of the all farms rely on investment from the government. Um, and our government invests billions of dollars every year in different kinds of farming practices. We know commodity farmers right now are getting some economic relief payments, or they're at least in the pipeline for soybeans. Commodity farmers are often able to access crop insurance. And over the past few years, there's been a huge investment in food systems nationwide, and also in Iowa through Choose Iowa, the Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Grants, the LFPA and LFS, and other programs as well. So this huge investment, how have you seen this investment from the government impact your hub's ability to serve Iowa institutions, as well as, I mean, how have you seen it impact farmers, the number of farms, what they're able to produce, and how the Food Hub network is working?
Right. All right. Tommy, you're covering your question covers a little bit more ground than I prepared for, but I think I'll touch on most of it for sure. I in our introduction there, I gave you a little bit about the origin story of Field to Family. We got our feet underneath us, and then the pandemic hit. We again got our feet underneath us after getting through learning a whole new learning curve, and then having to move without an unplanned move, got established, and then these federal grants came through, and we were operating, we had launched, we got our feet underneath us, we were serving 15 institutions at the time, 9 school districts in the Iowa City, Cedar Rapids area, plus 1 in Iowa County. And we were doing once a week deliveries. And we were partnering with about 30, give or take, farmers. And most of those were the direct-to-consumer farmers. We were working with about 12 wholesale-ready farmers. And we were doing sales of wholesale around $110,000. And we were doing about double that for our online market at the time. But fast forward to the end of 2024, after 2 years of facilitating contracts from IDOLs to meet the goals of the federal grants that were awarded to the state. Just bottom lining it here, and then I'll expand a little bit, but we went from serving 15 institutions to 56 institutions. 44 of those were school districts, 24 were food access agencies. And like I said, we were moving about $110,000 worth of food what year was this? Right before, during the pandemic there, 2021. But we were paying farmers over $500,000 in 2024 alone, just that 1 year. And we had partnered with more farmers. So these funds were really able to facilitate us partnering with more farmers. We needed more food, more availability. We needed more diverse availability as well. Yes, we were providing local meat, but by the pounds, by the eaches, we started working with schools that needed them in much larger scales and not individually wrapped. So we had to learn how to do wholesale meat, eggs, how many cartons are in a case. I can tell you that now, but at the time, no. And yeah, we really had to scale up quickly. Now, we were a young food hub. We have the benefit of being able to partner with other food hubs in the state. We're part of the Food Hub Managers Working Group through Iowa Valley, RCND, and it's really enabled us to launch and then continue to expand our offerings. Being able to partner with other food hubs, Camp Creek, Farm Table, Iowa Food Hub, has made all the difference. We were able to get frozen local foods from Iowa Food Hub. We cannot get that anywhere else, for instance. And when the funds first started coming through, we were asked to fill contracts beginning in October, November for school districts, then ending in February or March. Sorry, Giselle, I'm not getting the dates exactly right, but I'm trying. We needed frozen foods for these schools that were ready to serve, and we were able to do that through these partnerships. And then, of course, because of the significant investment in food systems, all of the food hubs were able to expand their routes and expand their partnerships together. So we started working with Tommy. What's he doing in Grinnell? Well, something amazing. It's just getting started at the time. We were able to partner with him, utilize space there, utilize space in Des Moines, and greatly expand our routes and our ability to move foods from Western Iowa to Eastern Iowa. It's really incredible. But then also the other thing this investment allowed us to do as a food hub were mission-based, nonprofit, education at our roots. And we were able to take that right to the school nutrition directors and work with them to plan a seasonal menu. It is not necessarily obvious. And one of the things that we've been able to really hone in on is understanding availability of local foods, not just what's available when, but how much is available. Because when we're working with large school districts, you wouldn't believe how much food they want, how many deliveries they need. Whereas we're also working with the smaller ones with under 100 kids to serve, and they'll actually try a lot more new things, which is kind of fun. But ultimately, we really wanted to ensure this investment could carry on no matter what happened with the funds, so that the school nutrition directors were ready to continue to adopt local in their menus once they got a good understanding of not just what's available and when, but where they can get it and what they needed themselves. So we were able to do that one-on-one coaching. And of course, we did have to also expand our coaching for wholesale, leveling up to wholesale for food producers, because we wanted to be able to work with more producers in our region. And there were a lot ready to try, not there yet, but ready to try. And so we were able to expand our partnerships to both wholesale ready and smaller scale farmers.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. That was an excellent answer. I think we can see how these investments, everything from the Farmers Market Nutrition Program to Choose Iowa grants, to the LFPA and LFS, they really help grow the food system in Iowa into what it is today. We're going to move a little bit west. We've been on the eastern side of the state, and we're going to turn it over to Francois to share a little bit more about your story becoming an Iowa farmer and how you got started, where you're from and where you're farming now. And before I do, I just want to invite everybody to please share questions that they have or comments in the chat if you have any. Go ahead, Francois.
Hello, everyone. As he said, my name is Francois Hakizimana. I'm from Central East Africa and a country called Burundi. And 99% over there, we lay on a farming. So I was grow up in a farming family. And since I was a little kid, I was going to the field to help me out with my parents. And I remember when I'm 10 years old, I start a little area for my farming. And right there, life was farming, because that's where I get a food to eat, to put on the table. That's where I get a clothing. We get a school fees, hospital bills. It was whole life was farming. I come here was at 2008 on April. That's why I come here in America. And here in Iowa, the LSI is welcome us and help out over here because we have a language barrier, new area, we never know, and they help us out. But one of the problem we found out here, we don't have an area to farm as we used to do back in Africa. So we started to talk to them. As much we talk to them, we talk about farming. Then in 2010, they found us a little area we call a small plot. So where you can have like 3 tomatoes and 5 eggplant. It was a small area. But in 2011, that's when we started farming on a quarter of acre. And we grow up with the LSI give us the global green. They work with the global green, and the global green was one over there to help us to have access to the land and all problem we have for farming. So we was learning to them. And Global Green hold us from that time to 2022, where they managed to found area where I can go. There is some of the farmers from my country, they get an area before me, but they managed to found open a big area. I can call big area, even it's not a big enough for right now, but it's big for where I was, because right now I'm farming in a 3 acre in Hammond. So I work with in Hammond from 2022 to now. But Global Green will provide us a training, a farming training, because it's a new and a different way we used to farm back in the country, and the way we farm over here is different. So that's why we take every winter we are taking training from Global Green, which we thank them a lot. And we are farming African vegetables and the local vegetables, like the African vegetables were popular on white eggplant and lenga-lenga and sorghum. We are introduced lenga-lenga to American community. They like it so far. So so that's where we are farming, and local vegetables we are farming like carrots, spinach, kale, collard greens, and more regarding our demand. So, and for those years have been farming over here, we have a problem as the people of color. We have a problem to have access to the land. As I said, I help thanks to Global Green because they work hard to find the area where we can farm. So we have that problem. We have a problem to have access to the land. We have a problem to find farming equipment. They are very expensive. So as I farm on a 3 acre, and to buy a tractor cost over 20,000. It's not easy. It's hard. So I still have that problem access to the land because on my plan back there in Africa where we farm, we have a farm and we have like a farming goat over there, cow over there. That's my plan. I need to have an open farm where I can have enough vegetables for my the communities and African communities as they have a demand. And I like to have those goats over there and cow over there. We have a big party, Iowa and summer. More than in African communities, we have a lot of parties. So we need a goat, we need a cow. So I need to maybe in a future to have access to the land, and I can have an open area to have all of those. And Global Green is help us for market. We have a Global Green international market, and we have a CSA through Global Green, and I have Iowa Food Bank. We sell some through Iowa Food Bank. But we are still need open more market open for us. And so far, what I like, our communities, like I1, local communities, they like to eat food from local farmers. And every day when I talk to my customers, American customers and African customers, they are like so far what we are doing to provide vegetables they can trust to their families. So it's up to I-ones elected to support this organization, support smaller farmers' business, to have access to those problems, as I mentioned, some of my problems. So these are Iowa local communities, they can have more food to put on the table from local farmers. I will be happy if I am elected. I will be happy if my people eat food from local. That's that's why I'm gonna put effort to help local farmers so our communities can have those vegetables they like to put on a table for their families. So that's my story, and I'm farming 3 acres right now, but they stay open, knocking the door to Global Green. I bought them every time. I need to have access to more open land. I need this. I have a high demand, like those white eggplant. I have a high demand, only not only to the African from Iowa, but from beyond of Iowa, Texas. The African communities from Texas, they know farm from Arizona, Utah. So if they know Iowa, since they know Iowa, we are farming, we have a core every time. So some of the eggplants, white eggplant, we have to ship down there to Texas, Arizona, Utah. So we are not feeding only Iowa, but we are feeding even beyond Iowa. So that's why we need more access to the land. So Iowa, we can have more food on the table from our local farmers. Thanks.
Thank you, Francois. That inspiring story, and Global Greens is such an amazing program. Can I just ask one follow-up, which is, do you know how many farmers now are working as part of the Global Greens market and program?
We have about 18 on the incubator right now, but we provide services to about 30 or 40 if you talk about technical assistance and classes and even just like Schedule F help.
That's amazing. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Francois. Um, yeah, it's the dream to be able to have farmers serving their local communities, and you're exactly right that I think any elected official would want more local food on the tables for their constituents. So thank you for sharing that message, Francois. Um, I'm going to go ahead and we'll move us along here to Ashley Recknor with Purple Ribbon Beef in Britt, Iowa. Ashley, would you mind telling us a little bit about your livestock business?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Ashley Recknor, as you said. I have a family, multi-generational family farm. So it is my husband and I, along with my daughter, Rylan, and my parents, Pete and Cindy. We live on a farm here in Britt, and we raise cattle, and we market those directly to consumers. So everything is born here on the farm, and then we raise them until we take them to be processed. We have them out on pasture, or right now pasture is limited in Iowa, changing the season, so they're out on corn stalk, and then we finish them on grain. And so that is something we've been doing direct to consumer since 2016. I grew up though with cattle, so it's been something that has been in the family for generations, like I said. With that, we work with local processors, and we work with Nimrod for all of our direct to consumer business. And so I know that's something, that we talk about in the state is processing grants and things like that. One of their opportunities is always employees. So, training programs so they can have a consistent employee. That's so important to us. The meat that we get back, our meat is dry aged for 14 days. And then once we get it back, we market it in multiple channels. And that's really where we've seen a lot of help growing our business. We started really small with one farmer's market. Now we're in two. I heard some of the people talk about the vouchers. I every year at market get asked from the Senior Bucks program if I can accept them, and I can't. So if I can make a plug, can we add protein to those senior voucher programs so I could sell them a package of ground beef? I would love to, but currently, those are reserved for protein. And a great program for those seniors, but an opportunity when we're out at our farmers markets marketing meat. We're also part of the food hub. So we heard from Field Family tonight. They're one of our great partners. We're also with Iowa Food Co-op, Prudent Produce, Field of Family especially. We've worked with them on a lot of schools and the wholesale. We were a great partner with LSCA. You guys have already heard about how that program helps people grow. We were one of those. On the meat side of it, we saw great growth with farm to school, and on the education side, going in and educating students on where their meat came from. We also have had a farm store that's been open a year now. Thank you to Choose Iowa. You guys have heard this evening about startup costs, especially in the meat business. Refrigeration is one of those. I mean, we have a ton of costs in just animal production. It's 2 years before we even get to harvest that animal. But then once we have it, we have all of that refrigeration cost, all of those pieces as well. So Choose Iowa helped us open our farm store, and we're very grateful for all of their marketing and that. We also ship out. And so those are a little bit about our business and some of the programs we've been involved in.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And obviously, if you've been watching the news about agriculture in the last 24 hours, you've heard about American beef producers a little bit. We had the president yesterday say that a good way to lower beef prices for consumers would be to import more beef from Argentina. This is obviously coming at a time when American producers are struggling in some ways to find adequate markets. So can you talk about the importance of selling directly to consumers and how local meat processing helps keep more money in our communities and more money in your farm economy so that you can keep upgrading your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's a hot topic right now, beef prices for sure. And one of the things I just call out with that our Cattlemen's Association has helped us point out where we're at with beef prices. Input costs have completely rose with our equipment, all of those things. But our price of beef is the same average price as it was for American workers back in the 1980s, like if you kind of factor that out. So if we take that into consideration, but our input costs are rising, we always just want to look at everything in proportion from that standpoint. But your question was about directly buying from us and how we're able to keep more with us. And that's why the branded programs like Choose Iowa or buying from your farmer directly, whether that be the farmers market, the food hubs, those things help us keep more of those dollars. We're able to invest more in our rural communities when you purchase from us directly. We're also working with rural processors, rather than the large packers, which, that market is very saturated or not saturated. There's only 4 meat processors that control a lot of the market. So purchasing from us, and really when you spend $1 with us, that generates on average 94 cents back into the community. And that's from ISU Food Research. I didn't make that up. So I think that's why it's so important if you're able to shop local, whether that be with me with the meat, whether that be with anyone else on here tonight. It really helps us keep our businesses going and sustain our rural economy.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to also put a plug in for, we talk about the inputs, and I've heard about the land access and stuff tonight. I think that's something else that factors into all of our beef prices, farmers just in general. And so also one thing that we have to factor in is our continuing to rise is land taxes. And so what does that look like for our agricultural producers? Is that something we can talk about and look at as we're also trying to compete for some of the same land that was talked about in the beginning of the evening? And for me, as a beef producer, also like grazing grounds, what does that look like? Do we have access to grazing other grounds that maybe otherwise would be competed for? So those are kind of some of the things that also factor in.
Thank you, Ashley. And yeah, I think that's really interesting to have, having ground set aside specifically for grazing for Iowa beef producers. That's great. We're gonna pull on Will Friedrichsen from Friedrichsen Meat Company next. Obviously, meat lockers and beef producers go hand in hand, so I'm glad to have you guys back to back. Um, Will, could you tell us a little bit about Friedrichsen Meat Company in Sutherland?
Yeah, I'm Will. We built Friedrichsen Meat Company in 2022. We finished building it. We took an existing building, saw the need for more meat lockers, and decided to build one. We converted it and turned it into a meat locker. We ran that for 2 years, and then we underwent an expansion that we just finished in April of this year, which we doubled capacity, processing, all that stuff. And we've recently become an inspected facility, so state inspected, which is like the state equivalent of USDA. But today was our first review for USDA inspection. Our final review is next week. So that's about complete. Yeah, we process mainly hogs and cattle, some lambs and deer as well, locally. And yeah, we're trying to expand more and more every day.
Yeah, it's so important. Can I ask what made you decide to do a crazy thing like start a meat locker?
I don't know, man. I saw a need for it and said we had a baby on the way, me and my wife, and we decided, if we're gonna do it, we just will do it now. And yeah, it's been a great decision. Fun ride. Been wild. But yeah, we started with it was me and my wife were the only employees. And then we shortly after we opened, we hired a part-timer. We worked a couple days a week. And now as of last week, we hired our 13th employee. So we've been able to expand a lot in the last few years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And can you talk a little bit about that need? Was it just you were hearing from producers they didn't have places to take their animals or?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like, yeah, I called in one day to get a beef done, and they're like, oh, it's going to be 8 months or whatever. And so I thought, geez, there must be a need for it. But there's like 9 lockers within, I'd say, 40 miles of here. But there's also enough livestock to go around. So, and everybody's busy all the time. So
Right.
it was kind of a no-brainer, honestly. And yeah, we've doubled production. We've started doing private labeling, e-commerce, all that kind of stuff. We'll be CIS by the end of next week, so we'll be able to ship across state lines. We provide meat for local restaurants. We've got beef sticks in several bars, golf courses, stuff like that. And yeah, we private label in a bunch of different towns.
Yeah, it's so encouraging to hear about all of the different meat lockers and how that's keeping money in Iowa communities and on farms and everything. But that also comes with it, as Ashley alluded to a little bit, the increasing consolidation in the meat industry right now. In 1980, the major meat packers controlled just 36% of the beef supply, and at that time, beef producers would make 62 cents on the dollar. And now four major meat packers control over 85% of the market. And in that time, now farmers only take home 37% of the sales price. So we can see how that consolidation really can harm farms and rural communities. And so having more meat lockers pop up like this is an amazing thing. How have public investments like the Butchery Innovation Grant, how has that kind of helped you get started up to make sure you can keep providing the service?
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to receive the Butchery Innovation Grant, the USDA one. We were awarded money through that, and that allowed us to expand. So we went from when it was just me and my wife, we killed like, I don't know, 4 beef and 3 or 4 hogs was a big week for us. And then now we regularly do like 10 beef and 16, 17 hogs a week. It allowed us to expand. We were in need of more space. And so we added on to the building, did several things, remodeled. And then with the Choose Iowa grant, we found after this was all said and done, there was a major bottleneck with a few different things. So with the Choose Iowa grant, we were able to buy some new equipment that kind of solved that bottleneck. In fact, we just installed, it's called a clipper. It allows us to process ground beef a lot faster, package it a lot faster. We just got that last week and trained on it and all that stuff. And yeah, it's already like it's increased production just like incredibly. I don't have numbers on it or anything, but it's just noticeably different. Yeah, and without that stuff, maybe we could have done it, but it would have been way further down the line. With the help and the investment of that money, it allowed us to speed this process along a lot faster. We've only been open just over 3 years, and we've tripled in size probably, and I don't think we could have done that. Like the purchase of the equipment would have been a lot more difficult and a lot scarier had we not had some grants, and it's been great. And I feel like we used it. We on the application we said we're doing this many animals. If we get this grant, we plan on doing this many, and it's held true like to the head, to the pig, to the beef. It's been true. So it's completely helped.
That's good planning right there, Will.
Yeah, as far as like the Packers go, I don't know. We don't necessarily try to compete with Packers because we can't. Because I bet all the lockers in the state of Iowa don't kill in a week what Tyson kills in a day. So, but what we do like to do is to help the small scale farmers have an outlet for their animals, like where they're not dependent on a sale barn, where they have to pay a fee to market their animals. That's just going to get slaughtered by one of the big four anyway. It helps them to market direct to consumer, e-commerce, different things like that. One nice thing is though, we do a lot of support for the bigger cattle feeders and hog feeders in the area. We can, like a guy just last week, for example, he probably feeds like, I don't know, 4,000 head north of town. And we killed like 5 cattle for him last week just for local family friends and stuff. But at least we got those 5 to stay local, the tax dollars to stay very local, and that money will continue to turn over locally. So that's what we kind of concentrate on.
Yeah, and even for those farms who are feeding out a lot more, they can make more money when they can sell a few like that. They
Absolutely.
can on those 5 animals. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's really important. Well, I will say with Ashley and Will, I think and all the other beef producers and meat lockers in Iowa, I think we are safe in Iowa. We are not going to be eating Argentinian beef.
No.
We're going to keep eating good Iowa meat here. So thank you all for that. We're going to move on to our final speaker for the evening, and then we're going to open it up right after that for people to jump in, make comments. I know we have other farmers on the call here, and we have state legislators as well. We're going to want to hear from y'all in just a minute. But last and certainly not least, we have Clint Miller of Freeman Foods. Clint, hello. Can you tell us a little bit about your business and the grocery store that you're running in Wellman, Iowa?
Yeah, so I've got Freeman Foods. I bought the store back in 2012, and 2016 I opened up a second location in North English. So I've got 2 stores now. Yeah, when I got into the grocery business, my plan was kind of to keep expanding and pick up a lot of these small independent stores in my area and maybe outside of my area. The pressures of the grocery business are immense, and I've kind of backed off from my plans at this point. I'm not sure small town grocery is a great opportunity for the future at this point. I'm hoping maybe this call will change some of those things, but yeah, we're doing okay. We're hanging in there. We're going to keep going as long as we can for our 2 small towns. I should say Wellman's a community of about 1,300, and I believe North English is about 1,250, 1,300, right around. So they're both in the grocery world. We're the smallest of the small. So we've been up against it for a decade, and not sure anything's going to change, but I'm always optimistic.
Clint, thank you for sharing that. And it's a serious subject. Some of the most recent numbers we have are from 2005, which in rural Iowa, 43% of grocery stores in towns with less than 1,000 people closed between 1995 and 2005. And in that same time, the number of supercenter stores like Walmart and Target increased 175%. And that's according to a report by the Center for Rural Affairs. We know that those trends have only probably gotten harder, and the pressure is even more on small town grocery stores. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those pressures you're facing from the grocery industry, from the Dollar Generals, and what that looks like for you?
Yeah, I mean, Dollar General's invasive, obviously. You can compete with them. It's difficult, but really the major thing that independents like myself are facing is just the it's not a level playing field. Your Costco's of the world, your Walmarts, your Aldi, your Dollar General, they're all receiving pricing that's far more competitive than what I'm offered, and every other independent in the state is offered. The frustrating thing with that, it started out, I think, the more they could purchase, it was justifiable. They're taking semi loads into stores, yada yada yada. So they're justifying lower cost to them due to that. Well, there's been a major consolidation with independents. I think the majority of the state is probably with Associated Wholesale Grocers at this point. Really big co-op supports a lot of independents. I think we've got, 3,000 stores maybe. I might be out of pocket there, but I think it's somewhere around there, and it's across the U.S. It's not just a regional thing. So we've got the purchasing power. And what's frustrating is, when you're talking about Nabisco products, Oreos, Chips Ahoy, my co-op is buying semi-loads. It doesn't cost any more to get a semi-load from Nabisco to my co-op's warehouse than it does to take it to Walmart. And then obviously there's going to be a slight increase for my co-op to operate. But what I'm seeing is oftentimes our rock bottom sale price that we're able to offer to customers twice a year is the normal price at your Costco, your Walmart, your Aldi. I often see Pepsi, whether it's Casey's, whether it's Dollar General, Costco. I've got the same delivery guy, same distributor as the Dollar General down the road, but oftentimes they're selling a 12-pack of Pepsi for less than I'm paying for it. And I'll ask my salesman what the deal is. He says, I don't know what's going on. I sell it in at the same price to you as I do them. Well, I'm not able to sit down with Pepsi corporate and make deals behind the scenes, and there's no money changing hands behind the scenes between Freeman Foods and Pepsi. So it's just a real unfair, unlevel playing field when it comes to competition. And I can't remember the name of the grant's escaping me right now, but I think it was a rural improvement grant through the state, $25,000 grant, and then I had to match 50% of that. So with that, we were able to do some upgrades to our point of sale system, our back office system. So we did some technology stuff that helped us get caught up, and that was good. But really, for independent grocers like myself, we can do all the grants in the world and have government dollars thrown our way, but it's really not a solution to the problem. I can compete with anyone. I can get my folks to shop locally, but not when I've got such an unfair playing field that I'm working from, And once upon a time, up until probably 5-6 years ago, most of the consumer surveys done had price listed at about number 4th or 5th of importance, what was important to customers. Oftentimes it was cleanliness, it was customer service, and the like. Now price is 1, 2, and 3 on every consumer's list. It is the only thing they consider. They're willing to take a hit on customer service. They're willing to go into places that may not look very nice and be very clean, but if the price is right, that's where they're going. So it's just getting really tough to compete for us independents.
Clint, thank you for sharing that. It's as you pointed out, the rural innovation grants, those grocery reinvestment programs that the state had going, were really hoping to help, and I think they helped a little bit, but they clearly aren't addressing the underlying root cause of why rural groceries are struggling, and it's because of that unfair competition. So, not going to say we have the answer yet, but you sharing tonight will definitely help us as we're needing to think about what can be done next to better level the playing field out. Because rural groceries like yours are the lifeline for a community. When the grocery's gone, there's not much left. So thanks for sharing, and I hope we can do something to help support stores like yours. At this point, we're going to close at 8 o'clock. I know this is a long call, but we want to make sure to open up the conversation and let folks come off, other farmers, elected officials, or really anyone else who has comments or questions for our panelists tonight. We can go ahead and just open the floor now. And don't be shy. Also, if you have any questions you want to put in the chat, I can ask them.
I can ask one just to give people some think time and weigh in on other questions in the chat or come off mute. But I see some of the elected representatives on the call, Representative Ingalls, thank you for being here. You've been a longtime champion of local food in Iowa in the State House and many of the programs that were mentioned today. I'm just curious from the elected's perspective, what are some of the things that seem most hopeful or seem a place where we can put advocacy energy forward this legislative session? The Iowa Food System Coalition comes and lobbies and talks with your colleagues. Obviously, you're supporters of this cause because you're on the call, but do you have any areas that seem most hopeful or from what you've heard tonight where we could be really leaning into advocacy efforts? And it's possible that people are driving or eating dinner simultaneously, but if you can come off mute.
Hey, thank you for the conversation tonight. I was doing some multiple things like eating and doing some farming while I was listening to. So I think money, if we're looking at grants and that type of thing, probably is an uphill climb in the next year. But I'm really looking at policy tweaks that maybe we can make to reduce regulation, make easier access to programs for farmers. We're still working on an additional grocery innovation grant that would be bigger than what Department of Economic Development offered with the rural innovation grants. So we were very, very close, I think, this last session with that. We're still going to keep on working on that. Representative Latham is a champion on that now. She's chair of the House Economic Development, so she's really digging into that. I just think we need to continue to message to my colleagues the importance of the local economies, what we can do by maybe not sending or not, especially for school lunch type things. We need to find policy to make it easier for schools to use local foods. And I think we can do that, but we need to continue to message that to my colleagues and just find little areas that we can tweak. So many people are already doing some great things, and we're learning from those people tonight. We need to just keep moving the ball forward. So that wasn't probably a very good answer, but that's kind of where we're at right now. The longer I'm in the legislature, the more I learn that it's all kind of an uphill battle, and you just got to take baby steps. So.
Thank you, Chad. And yeah, thanks again for leading the way on that. And Senator Dre, yeah, go ahead.
It's now a party here. My plant lights have come on in the basement, so we'll have a little food systems rave. But I am really encouraged, Representative Ingold, about baby steps you just mentioned. So, this will be my first session. I was just elected in August in a special election, but without knowing much about anything at this point, it seems like a very easy ask would be expanding the food bucks into protein. Was that one of the I forget who the comment was from, but that just seems like a very easy yes to me, without knowing any of the minutia or steps that have been mentioned might be necessary, but it seems very easy to champion locally grown beef and support local farmers while also making sure that our elders are getting the nutrition that they need. So that's just one thing of many really wonderful comments and things that stood out to me. So thank you all so much for sharing. I know I talked to Representative Schulten a little bit about trying to get a food hub in Northwest Iowa. He said we're one of the few places that Sioux City does not have one yet, and for a city of our size, trying to make that happen. So thank you again all for sharing and for spending your evening with me. It's been a real pleasure getting to learn and hear some mostly good things. But Clint, I hear your frustration and your frustration, I guess. Yeah. My parents lived in a small town in South Dakota, and every time my mom said, I'm just gonna run over to Dollar General, and I'm like, maybe you should go. Do you want to just try and see if it's at the grocery store first? And she like started to understand that that was necessary, but they've since moved. So doing what I can in small local lobbying systems, but I appreciate all of your time.
Thank you to both of you for being on the call and listening in tonight. And as Giselle mentioned, we will be at the Capitol again for multiple lobby days this year and Days on the Hill with legislative priorities we're advancing. And also, everyone on the call should mark their calendar for December 5th if they're able to attend. In Ames, we are having the local food policy summit from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be a panel of 4 state legislators and 3 state agencies talking about what can be done for local foods in the upcoming legislative session. So Mallory just put the link for that in the chat to sign up for that free event. There will also be a local food lunch at that. So yeah, I want to open it up. Anyone else have comments? I know we have other farmers on the call. We might have some other elected officials as well. Okay, I don't see anyone jumping off mute. So I think please interrupt me if you do want to say something, but otherwise, I'm going to ask if any of our speakers tonight have closing comments, things they want to add in to leave the rest of us with tonight. Okay, it seems like maybe everyone's ready to go to bed. That's okay. I'll close us off here, if that's all right. Giselle, did you want to chime in?
Well, I don't know. I'm always wondering if people are just waiting for somebody else to go first.
Well, that's how humans are. We're social.
Especially in Iowa, we're real polite.
Yeah.
I have a comment here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we experimented a lot of loss this year because of the flood and then the heat. Is there any way we can advocate for like specialty crops insurance, even at little scale?
It's a very good question. And I think that we've been asking that at the federal level for some time now too.
Okay.
And there are some options. So that's definitely a need, as we heard earlier from Carmen talking about how, on the livestock side, there's a lot of disaster relief programs, but on the produce side, there's no disaster relief programs for most small farmers. So that can be a lost crop. So
Yep.
thanks for bringing that up. Okay. Any other closing comments, or I'll close us off here if we need to do that. Okay. Final plug from Mallory. Please check out Iowa Food Systems Coalition's podcast. I think it gets released every 2 weeks. It's just like 15 minutes long. They're pretty short episodes, and they're really in depth about Iowa's food systems with great speakers like we had tonight. So I just want to close off by saying Iowa agriculture has always gone in the direction of the investment from the government. So if we look back to the price support system that was set up for farmers back in the Great Depression, corn production in 1930 was about 20 bushels an acre. And today we're at about 180 bushels an acre. And you can follow that graph directly based on the amount of support that the federal government was giving to corn production in the state of Iowa. And so investment in our food systems has always meant a greater production and capability for production and coordination for processing and transportation of Iowa's farm products. And that same kind of investment in Iowa's food system over the past decade has resulted in an explosion of activity for local meat processing, for local farms, for local food hubs. And we need to work together to continue that kind of investment because otherwise local farmers are not on a fair playing field with the increasingly consolidated food industry. So it's going to, I know we're going to have tough conversations about the budget, especially at the state level this year, but we need to make sure that we are continuing to support our local farms and producers because it is the amazing work of all of our speakers on the call here tonight that is making Iowa's rural communities vibrant again and providing healthy food for all Iowans. So we've got the talent, we've got the land, we've got the community, and we have literally the best soil on planet Earth. We ought to be able to grow some good food in this state, and I appreciate everyone for being here tonight, and let's continue to advocate for that. Thank you all. Have a good night. Please be in touch with any questions.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank y'all for being here. Tommy, great job. Mallory, thanks for running everything.
Good mic drop at the end there, Tommy. That was beautiful.
Really beautiful. Well
Thanks. Yep. You get used to saying things like that when you're thinking about them all the time.
Right.
Um,
What your dreams sound like now.
yeah, that was incredible. Those were all amazing speakers.
Incredible speakers. Really, really, yeah, amazing to hear from the farmers and then the processors and the grocers, like all on one call.